What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about this Tahoe and some precautionary measures that you should take when buying a vehicle. So what we have here is a 2004 Tahoe with 186,000 miles on it. So from the outside, it's a really good looking truck, right? And something you don't see very often is the driver's seat is still in one piece. No tears, the interior's all there. Headliner's got a little bit of issue, but from the outside, this truck looks really good. You know, the normal wear and tear stuff. A little bit of rust on the bottom of the bumper on both sides. So you're going to look at this truck, right? And you're thinking, all right, this is a pretty good deal. I'm going to get, you know, something nice to drive around daily. LS engines last forever, so no worry. So what do you look for when you go to look at a truck? Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is check the fluids. Does it have Dex Cool in it? Is the oil full? What's been replaced on the front of the engine? So when you look at this, it looks basically stock. No big deal. Should be a 5.3, 2004, so no displacement on demand, no active fuel management, no variable valve timing. Nothing out of the ordinary. So you look a little bit closer. And one thing that I noticed is, hopefully you guys can see, the exhaust manifold bolts have been replaced. Now, these trucks have an issue with breaking the exhaust manifold bolts, so maybe someone went ahead and fixed the broken ones and replaced them all with new. Again, this isn't a huge deal. Why would you suspect anything weird? So you look a little bit closer. Looks like it's been well maintained. Someone's recently replaced the water pump, put new radiator hoses on it. Spark plug wires look original, and everything's there like it's supposed to be. The PCV system, everything else. Original air intake box. It's good. So you bring it over to your buddy's house so that he can look it over, change the oil, and it's got a little tick to it. So I start looking into it. Drain the oil out, no big deal. It's a little thick. So I'm thinking, all right, 186,000 miles, someone might have put Rotella in it, or a 2050 oil, just to keep the oil pressure up. Check the oil pressure gauge, no issue, sitting there 40 pounds at a hot idle. It's all good. While the truck's up in the air, I start looking around. Yeah, the truck's probably been up north. The frame has a little spotted rust on it, nothing crazy. The rear and front bumper, a little bit of rust, nothing out of the ordinary. The shocks have been replaced, the brakes have been replaced, so someone did the maintenance. So we start looking into that ticking sound we're finding. So the exhaust is kind of close to the frame, so go ahead, adjust that because someone's put a muffler on this thing. Everything seems good. Put new oil in it, fire it back up. Still has that weird tick noise, so start looking into it a little bit further. And this is what you find. A cracked flex plate. Right, no big deal. We'll go ahead and fix that since he's going to be daily driving this thing. Now this is where it gets a little weird. I walk over to my funnel where the old oil filter is. I pick it up, turn it upright to walk it over to the garbage, look down at it. It looks like it's still full of oil. So I think, well, that's weird. Stick my pinky in it, and it's like Jello. So I get out the oil filter cutter, and here's what we find. Obviously, this is a big problem. The oil is so thick and sludgy, it's actually clogged the oil filter. So why is this? Did someone not change the oil? What's the problem? But you can see this stuff is like Jello. It is thick. There's no way that any oil was flowing through this. How did the engine have oil pressure? Well, there's a little disc on top of these oil filters that allow oil to bypass it. So all right, it was bypassing, no big deal. We'll put a new filter on it, new oil is already in it. We'll be good to go. But because I am the way I am, I want to know why this is an issue. 186,000 miles, even if you went over a few oil changes, it shouldn't look like this. So I started digging into it a little bit further. We'll go ahead and pull the valve cover off this thing and show you what we're working with. So as you can see, the top of the engine is full of sludge too. We don't know why. The engine has the right number, casting number head on it. It's obviously a 5.3. So why is this thing so ugly? Well, that's what we need to figure out. Remember, the exhaust manifold bolts have been changed. So what I did next was I pulled the transmission out, because I know I have to replace the flex plate, and we'll figure out what to do about this sludge later. So let's put this up in the air and show you what I found. Alright, so now we have the truck up in the air. And what I don't know if you'll be able to see now, right there, on the back of the cylinder head, there's a heat tab. So what is a heat tab? Well, basically what that is something that junkyards put on the back of engines, and there's a little lead center to it. And if that melts, that means the engine's been overheated. So what's going on with this truck? Someone blew up the original motor, went to the junkyard, bought an engine, and put in this thing. Unfortunately, now we don't know what we have. We don't know how many miles are on it. We don't know if it's been taken care of. Obviously, the oil changes haven't been done like they're supposed to. So what are we going to do now? That's up to the owner of the truck. Alright, so now we know obviously there is a sludge issue inside this engine. What do we do about it? Well, here's option number one, Seafoam. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Seafoam, why I don't like it. Seafoam claims that everything in there is petroleum based and it will dissolve the sludge deposits inside the engine. Well, that's all good, but when you're dissolving those deposits, they have to go somewhere. They have to drain back through the engine into the pan. They have to be fed back through the oil pump. So do you put Seafoam in it, drive it for 500 miles, drain it back out and put fresh oil in it? Or do you just keep maintaining normal oil change intervals, 3,000 miles, and let the engine eventually clean itself up, which it will do if you use a good oil. So on this, we are not going to put Seafoam in it because I'm worried that it's going to clean the engine so good that all the deposits will end up back in the pan, and there will be so many of them that the oil pump's going to try to pick it back up, push it back through the engine, which could, one, clog your oil pump pickup, and two, could destroy the engine. So with fresh oil in this engine, we're still sitting at 40 pounds oil pressure, which is all the way at the top of the engine. So we know that side of the engine oiling system is good. We don't know how good the drain back is, and the only way you'll be able to know that is driving down the road and make sure your oil pressure doesn't drop. So the moral of the story, guys, is do a really good inspection if you plan on buying something that is 15 years old, maybe more. There was no way to tell that this was an issue until we got it back to the house, drained the oil out of it, and realized that there was something wrong. Now, luckily, he got a good enough deal on this truck that we're just going to ride it out and see what happens. If it eventually needs an engine, we'll go ahead and put an engine in it. So the cracked flex plate, not sure how that happened. So it's got a new one in it now. We're going to ride, see how it does. So when you're out there looking at vehicles to buy, look for little things that could tell you that the engine's been replaced or the transmission's been replaced. Look for heat tabs. Unfortunately, on this truck, it's hidden really well. You can't see it. I didn't even see it until I had the transmission out of it. Bolts that have been replaced, exhaust manifold. On these trucks, kind of here or there. You know, these original exhaust manifold bolts are good about breaking, so someone could have replaced them all just as a precaution. And you look at it and the maintenance has been done. Brakes, shocks, radiator hoses, water pump, all that's already been replaced. So you think you're getting something good and you don't know until you really tear it apart. So like I said, we're going to ride this out. We're going to keep good oil in it. We're going to maintain 3,000 mile oil changes, and hopefully the engine's going to clean itself up good. So that's going to do it for this video. I appreciate you guys watching. Be careful out there. Watch what you're getting with used vehicles. Don't forget, check me out on Instagram. I try to post up there daily. Stuff that I'm doing here at the house, stuff that I do at RPM Motorsports. And as always, there's a link in the description below for high PSI TV merchandise. Be sure you check that out as well. I want to thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.